The red warning lights flashed across the bridge of the human starship New Seoul. Commander Lee Hyun watched the emergency message appear on his screen. The Galactic Council demanded immediate attendance at an emergency session. No delays, no excuses. Lee Hyun frowned as he read the message again. In 30 years of human membership in the Council, they had never called such urgent meetings. The Council usually took months to decide anything. They moved slowly like ancient trees that had grown too comfortable in their power. "Sir, should I prepare the diplomatic shuttle?" Captain Kim Doyan asked from his pilot station. His young face showed concern. Kim had only joined the human fleet 2 years ago, but he was already one of their best pilots. "Yes, prepare it. And send word to Ambassador Park Soo-jin. Tell her we need to leave for the Council station within the hour." Lee Hyun walked to the large window that showed the stars beyond. Earth hung in the distance like a blue jewel. Humanity had come so far since joining the galactic community. But sometimes Lee Hyun wondered if they had gained much at all. The humans were called a junior species by the Council. This meant they could only have small defense fleets. They could only settle certain worlds. They had to ask permission for almost everything. The 12 ancient alien races that ruled the Council treated humans like children who needed constant watching. An hour later, Ambassador Park Soo-jin arrived on the bridge. She was a calm woman who rarely showed emotion. But today, her usually perfect appearance seemed rushed. Her diplomatic robes were wrinkled and her hair was not perfectly arranged as usual. "Commander Lee, do you know what this emergency is about?" she asked. "No, Ambassador." The message gave no details. "Just that we must come immediately." Dr. Shin Mirai entered the bridge carrying a datapad. She was the ship's expert on alien species and technology. Her job was to study everything the Council allowed humans to know about other races. "I have been checking our communication records," Dr. Shin said. "There have been strange transmissions from Council space over the past week. Coded messages." "More than usual. What kind of messages?" Ambassador Park asked. "I cannot decode them. The Council uses encryption that they do not share with junior species like us." The journey to the Council station took 6 hours. The massive structure hung in space like a metal moon. It had been built thousands of years ago by the first Council races. Humans were not allowed to visit most of its sections. As their shuttle docked, Lee Hyun noticed something strange. There were many more Council ships than usual. War vessels from all 12 member races surrounded the station. Their weapons were powered down, but they were clearly ready for action. "Why are there so many military ships here?" Captain Kim whispered. "I do not know," Lee Hyun replied, "but I do not like it." They were escorted to the main Council chamber. The room was enormous, with seats for representatives from hundreds of species. But today, only the 12 ancient races were present. Their alien forms looked down at the humans from high platforms. At the center sat Vorthak, the current Council leader. He belonged to a race that looked like giant insects with 4 arms and glowing eyes. When he spoke, his voice came through translation devices that made it sound cold and mechanical. "Humans of Earth," Vorthak began, "we have called you here because of a great danger to galactic peace." Ambassador Park stepped forward. "We are ready to help in any way we can, Council Leader. A new threat has emerged. A species called the Kethmari. They are expanding aggressively through space near your colonies. They destroy everything in their path. They cannot be reasoned with." Lee Hyun had never heard of the Kethmari before. Dr. Shin looked equally confused. In all her studies of galactic species, she had found no mention of them. Vorthak continued, "These Kethmari will reach your frontier colonies within days. Your people must be evacuated immediately. There is no time to save anything but lives." "How many colonies must be evacuated?" Ambassador Park asked. 3 worlds, Harmony Station, New Busan, and Crystal Valley. Every human must leave within 48 hours. The numbers hit Lee Hyun like a physical blow. Those 3 colonies held over 200,000 people. They were some of humanity's most successful settlements. Harmony Station was a major trade hub. New Busan was a growing industrial center. Crystal Valley was home to many human families who had lived there for generations. "Council Leader," Ambassador Park said carefully, "could we not send military support instead? Our people have built homes on those worlds. They have businesses, schools, hospitals." "No." Vorthak's mechanical voice cut through the air. "Junior species do not question Council decisions. Your ships are too weak to fight the Kethmari. Evacuation is the only option." Dr. Shin stepped forward. May we see data about these Kethmari? Pictures, ship designs, anything that might help us understand the threat? Several council members made sounds that the translation devices turned into laughter. Forthak leaned forward on his platform. Junior species do not need such information. You need only to obey. The evacuation begins now. Ambassador Park looked at Lee Hyun. Her diplomatic training told her to accept the council's wisdom. But something felt wrong about this situation. The council had never moved so quickly before. They had never demanded such immediate action. We will comply with the council's decision, she said finally. As they left the chamber, Lee Hyun felt anger building in his chest. 200,000 people would lose everything they had worked for. Entire communities would be destroyed. And the council had given them no choice in the matter. The flight back to human space was quiet. Ambassador Park stared out the window, probably thinking about how to organize the largest evacuation in human history. Captain Kim focused on flying, but his jaw was tight with frustration. Dr. Shin worked on her datapad, trying to find any information about the mysterious Kethmari. Commander, she said after an hour of searching, I cannot find anything about these aliens. Nothing in our databases. Nothing in the information the Council has shared with us over 30 years. Maybe they are a new discovery, Lee Hyun replied, but his voice showed doubt. Perhaps, but would a new species really be so dangerous that 3 human worlds must be abandoned immediately, with no attempt at diplomacy or defense? Lee Hyun had been wondering the same thing. In 30 years of Council membership, humans had seen how the ancient races handled threats. They moved slowly. They talked for months. They tried every option before resorting to force. This was different. This felt rushed and desperate. When they reached human space, the evacuation was already beginning. Massive transport ships moved between the 3 doomed colonies. Families packed whatever they could carry. Businesses were abandoned. Schools were emptied. Lee Hyun watched from the bridge of the New Seoul as thousands of people left their homes. Children cried as they said goodbye to pets that could not come with them. Adults looked back at houses they had built with their own hands. On Harmony Station, the governor was a man named Cho Min-sik. He had lived there for 20 years. He sent a message to Lee Hyun as the last transport prepared to leave. Commander, my people do not understand why we must go. They ask me questions I cannot answer. Why can we not fight? Why can we not see proof of this threat? What am I supposed to tell them? Lee Hyun had no good answers. Tell them the council has decided. Tell them it is for their safety. But as he said the words, Lee Hyun wondered if they were true. As the final transport ship left Crystal Valley, long-range sensors detected something in the distance. Captain Kim was the first to notice it. Sir, there are ships approaching the evacuated colonies, but they are not moving like attack vessels. They are moving slowly, carefully. Can you identify them? Kim worked at his controls for several minutes. When he looked up, his face was pale. Sir, those are council mining ships. Engineer Choi Ji-won had always been curious about everything. As a child, she took apart every device she could find. Now at 26, she was one of humanity's best technical specialists. She studied alien technology and tried to understand how it worked. When the evacuation ended, Choi Ji-won could not stop thinking about the council mining ships. Why would miners need to approach the colonies so quickly after the evacuation? She decided to look at the sensor data more carefully. Working through the night in her small lab aboard the research vessel Sejong, she found something interesting. The abandoned colonies had been scanned many times over the past months. Not by humans, but by hidden council probes. That is strange, she said to herself. Why would they scan human colonies without telling us? She dug deeper into the data. The scans showed something that made her heart race. Deep beneath the surface of all 3 colonies were massive deposits of quantum crystals. These crystals were the most valuable material in the galaxy. They powered faster-than-light engines and made long-distance space travel possible. Choi Ji-won ran the analysis 3 times to make sure. Each time the results were the same. The 3 colonies sat on crystal deposits worth more money than most species saw in a lifetime. She called Lieutenant Yoon Hana, the intelligence officer assigned to their research group. Yoon was a quiet woman who noticed details that others missed. Lieutenant, can you meet me in Lab 7? I have found something important. Yoon arrived 20 minutes later. She looked tired. The evacuation had kept everyone busy for days. What did you discover, Engineer Choi? Choi Ji-won showed her the scan results. Look at this. Our colonies were sitting on quantum crystal deposits, huge ones. Yoon studied the data carefully. Her expression grew more serious with each detail she reviewed. This would explain the mining ships, Yoon said, but it raises bigger questions. What kind of questions? If the council knew about these deposits, why did they let us build colonies there? And if they did not know, how did they discover them so recently? Choi Ji-won had been wondering the same things. She pulled up another screen showing communication records. Lieutenant, can you access council communication logs? I need to know when they first learned about the Kethmari threat. Yoon worked at her computer terminal for an hour. She had special access to human intelligence networks. As she searched, her face became darker and more worried. Engineer Choi, I am finding some very disturbing information. What kind of information? The first mention of the Kethmari in council communications was only 2 weeks ago. But these communications show they have been planning something for months. Yoon showed Choi Ji-won a series of coded messages between council species. The codes were partially broken by human intelligence. Look at this message from 3 months ago. It talks about resource acquisition from junior territories. And this one from 2 months ago mentions preparing evacuation protocols for human settlements. Choi Ji-won felt sick as she read the messages. They planned this evacuation months before they claimed to discover the Kethmari threat. It gets worse. Yoon continued. I searched our entire database for any mention of the Kethmari species. In 30 years of galactic contact, they are mentioned exactly 0 times. No treaties, no trade records, no diplomatic contacts, no warnings about aggressive expansion. So either they are completely unknown to everyone except the council, or they do not exist at all. The two women stared at each other as the truth became clear. The Galactic Council had lied to humanity. They had invented a fake threat to steal 3 colonies worth billions of credits. We need to tell Admiral Song Tae-hyun immediately, Choi Ji-won said. Admiral Song was the highest-ranking human military officer. He commanded the small fleet that Earth was allowed to maintain. He was a careful man who thought deeply before making decisions. When Choi Ji-won and Lieutenant Yoon brought him their evidence, Admiral Song studied it for 2 hours without speaking. Finally, he looked up at them. Are you certain about these findings? Yes, sir, both women replied. Then we have a serious problem. The council has committed theft on a massive scale, and they have done it by lying to us. Admiral Song called an emergency meeting of all senior human commanders. The meeting took place on the flagship Incheon, in a secure conference room where alien listening devices could not reach. Commander Lee Hyun attended the meeting, along with Ambassador Park Soo-jin and 12 other top officials. When Admiral Song presented the evidence, the room fell silent. So the Kethmari do not exist? Ambassador Park asked. We believe that is correct, Lieutenant Yoon replied. We have found no evidence of their existence anywhere in 30 years of records. And the council has been planning this theft for months? The coded communications suggest yes, Commander Lee Hyun spoke up. What do we do with this information? Do we confront the council? Admiral Song looked around the room. That is exactly what we are going to do. Ambassador Park, I want you to demand an immediate meeting with the council leadership. Ambassador Park traveled back to the council station with a small security team. This time, the alien guards seemed less friendly. They made her wait in a small room for 3 hours before allowing her to enter the main chamber. Only 5 council members were present this time. Forthak looked annoyed at being disturbed. Human ambassador, why have you returned so quickly? The evacuation is complete. The matter is finished. Council leader, we have questions about the Kethmari threat. Our people would like to see evidence of this species and their aggressive actions. Vorthak's glowing eyes seemed to dim. Junior species do not require such evidence. Your people are safe. That should be enough. With respect, Council leader, our analysis shows that the evacuated colonies contained valuable quantum crystal deposits. Our people are wondering if there is a connection. The council chamber became very quiet. The 5 alien representatives looked at each other. Ambassador Park could feel tension building in the room. Are you questioning the wisdom of the council? Another alien asked. This one looked like a giant cat with 6 legs and blue fur. We are seeking clarification, Ambassador Park replied carefully. Vorthak stood up from his platform. His 4 arms gestured angrily. The council has protected your species for 30 years. We have given you technology, trade opportunities, and safety. In return, you owe us trust and obedience. But surely we have the right to ask questions. No. Vorthak's mechanical voice became louder. Junior species have no rights beyond what the Council grants them. You will accept our decisions without question. This meeting is over. Ambassador Park felt her diplomatic training fighting with her growing anger. Council leader, if the Kethmari are real, surely you can provide some evidence. Pictures, ship designs, anything. Guards, escort the human ambassador back to her ship. Tell her people that any further questions about Council decisions will be considered an act of rebellion. As the guards led her away, Ambassador Park heard Vorthak talking to the other Council members. The translation devices were turned off, but she caught a few words in the aliens' natural language. She had studied their languages during her diplomatic training. The words she understood made her blood run cold. They were discussing teaching the humans their place and showing all junior species what happens when they ask too many questions. When Ambassador Park returned to human space, she immediately called Admiral Song. Admiral, the Council is not going to provide any evidence about the Kethmari. In fact, they threatened us for asking questions. Did they admit to lying about the threat? Not directly. But their behavior suggests we are right about everything. Admiral Song was quiet for a long moment. Ambassador, I am going to share some new information with you. While you were gone, our scouts detected something else. What did they find? The Council mining operations on our former colonies have already begun. They are extracting quantum crystals around the clock. Our estimates suggest they will take billions of credits worth of materials from those worlds. Ambassador Park felt her heart sink. So they are stealing our resources while claiming they saved us from a threat that does not exist. That appears to be correct. What are we going to do about it? Admiral Song was quiet again. When he spoke, his voice was grim. I am going to recommend that President Kang Seoho call an emergency session of Earth's government. This is bigger than a military decision. This is about humanity's future in the galaxy. The evidence was clear now. The Galactic Council had deceived humanity. They had stolen 3 colonies worth billions of credits, and they had threatened humans for asking simple questions about what happened. For 30 years, humans had been good members of the galactic community. They had followed all the rules. They had accepted their status as a junior species. They had trusted that the Council would protect them and treat them fairly. Now they knew the truth. The Council saw humans as nothing more than useful servants who could be robbed whenever it was convenient. The question was, what would humanity do about it? President Kang Seoho had not slept for 2 days. The emergency session of Earth's government had been going on for 12 hours. Representatives from every human colony, every major city, and every military division sat around the massive conference table in Geneva. The evidence was spread across dozens of screens. Communication intercepts, sensor data, mining reports, and intelligence analysis. All of it painted the same picture. Humanity had been systematically deceived and robbed by the species they had trusted for 30 years. General Bei Yuna, the head of Human Defense Forces, pointed to a tactical display. The situation is worse than we first thought. Our scouts report that Council mining operations are expanding. They are not just taking crystals from the 3 colonies we evacuated. They are surveying 6 more human worlds. 6 more? President Kang asked. Yes, sir. New Sol Station, Freedom Port, Garden World, Haven Colony, Sunrise Valley, and Earth's Moon Base 7. Specialist Oh Junho, the government's top communications expert, raised his hand. Sir, we have intercepted a new Council transmission. They plan to issue another evacuation order within 72 hours. The room erupted in angry voices. Representatives from the threatened colonies shouted questions. Military officers demanded permission to fight. Diplomats argued for negotiation. President Kang raised his hand for silence. How many people live on those 6 worlds? General Bei checked her datapad. Approximately 400,000 humans, sir. And if we follow the same pattern as the first evacuation, the Council will start mining those worlds immediately after our people leave? That is the most likely scenario, yes. Dr. Shin Mirai had been invited to the emergency session as an expert on alien technology and behavior. She stood up to address the room. President Kang, I have been analyzing 30 years of Council interactions with humanity. I believe I understand their long-term strategy. Please explain, Doctor. The Council has been deliberately keeping humanity weak and dependent. They gave us just enough technology to be useful. but not enough to be independent. They allowed us to settle only on worlds they thought were worthless. But clearly these worlds were not worthless. No, sir. Our analysis suggests that every human colony sits on valuable resources. The Council has been surveying our territories for years. They know exactly what we have and what it is worth. President Kang felt a cold chill as he understood the implications. So this is not random theft. This is a planned campaign to take everything we have built. I believe that is correct, sir. Admiral Song Tae-hyun entered the conference room carrying a secure datapad. His face was grim. President Kang, we have received the new evacuation order from the Council. Already? They said 72 hours. They moved up the timeline. We now have 48 hours to evacuate 6 colonies. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Council was accelerating their theft of human territory. Ambassador Park Soo-jin spoke for the first time in hours. Mr. President, I have been thinking about our options. We can comply with this new order and lose 6 more colonies, or we can refuse and face whatever punishment the Council decides to give us. What kind of punishment could they give us? A colonial representative asked. General Bay answered grimly. The Council has military forces from 12 ancient species. Their combined fleets could destroy every human ship and orbital station within a week. So we have no choice but to comply? That is what they want us to believe, Dr. Shin said. But I think there may be another option. President Kang looked at her with interest. What kind of option? For 30 years, the Council has told us that we are too weak and primitive to defend ourselves. They have convinced us that we need their protection. But what if that is not true? What do you mean? Dr. Shin activated a holographic display showing human technological development over the past 3 decades. Look at this chart. It shows human innovation and development since we joined the galactic community. Notice anything strange? General Bay studied the chart carefully. Our technological development slowed down dramatically after we joined the Council. Exactly. Before galactic contact, humans were advancing rapidly in every field. After we joined the Council, our innovation almost stopped. We became dependent on alien technology instead of developing our own. Are you suggesting the Council deliberately held back our development? President Kang asked. I am suggesting more than that, sir. I believe many of the technologies the Council banned us from researching would have made us much more powerful than they want us to be. Admiral Song leaned forward. Dr. Shin, are you talking about the restricted research list? Yes. For 30 years, the Council has forbidden us from researching advanced AI, quantum weapons, neural interface technology, and adaptive material science. They claimed these fields were too dangerous for junior species. But what if they were lying about that too? What if they banned those research areas because they knew humans would excel at them? President Kang felt his mind racing. Could it be true? Had humanity been capable of defending itself all along? Dr. Shin, how long would it take to find out if you are right? Some of our brightest scientists have been working on these forbidden technologies in secret, sir. Not to disobey the Council, but because they were curious. I believe we could have working prototypes within weeks. General Bay looked shocked. Scientists have been violating Council restrictions? Not violating exactly. More like exploring theoretical possibilities. The room buzzed with whispered conversations. The idea that humans might not be as helpless as they had believed was both exciting and terrifying. President Kang stood up and walked to the window overlooking Lake Geneva. Earth looked peaceful from here. Blue skies, green mountains, calm water. It was hard to believe that their entire species faced a crisis that could destroy everything they had built. Admiral Song, in your professional military opinion, what would happen if we refused to evacuate the 6 colonies? The Council would send enforcement fleets to remove our people by force. If we resisted, they would destroy our ships and orbital stations as an example to other junior species. And how long would that take? Based on the size of the fleets we observed at the Council station, they could be here within a week. So we have 1 week to decide if humanity will continue to be slaves or if we will fight for our freedom. The word slaves hit the room like a physical force. It was harsh but accurate. For 30 years, humans had followed Council orders without question. They had accepted limits on their population, their technology, and their expansion. They had been told it was for their own good. Now they knew better. Specialist Oh Junho raised his hand again. Sir, there is one more thing you should know. We have been monitoring Council communications about other junior species. The same pattern of resource theft is happening to at least 4 other races. The Council has been robbing multiple species? Yes, sir. And in every case, they used fake threats to justify evacuations. The Kethmari were not the first imaginary enemy the Council has invented. President Kang returned to his seat. The weight of decision pressed down on him like a mountain. Whatever choice he made would affect not just humanity, but potentially every junior species in the galaxy. General Bay, if we decided to resist Council authority, how would you recommend we proceed? General Bay was quiet for a long moment. Sir, we would need to act quickly and decisively. Half measures would be suicide. Either we submit completely, or we commit to total resistance. What would total resistance look like? We would refuse all Council authority over human affairs. We would defend our colonies with military force. We would develop whatever technologies we need to protect ourselves, and we would be prepared for a war that could last years. The room fell silent again. War with the Galactic Council seemed impossible. 12 ancient species with thousands of years of military experience against one young race with restricted technology. But the alternative was to watch helplessly as everything humanity had built was stolen piece by piece. President Kang looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. He saw fear, anger, determination, and hope. These people had been elected to protect humanity's interests. Now they faced the biggest decision in human history. I need to hear from every representative before I make this choice. Starting with the colonial governors. Your people will be the first to face Council retaliation if we resist. One by one, the representatives spoke. Colonial governors talked about the families who would lose their homes. Military officers discussed tactical possibilities and risks. Diplomats warned about the consequences of defying galactic law. But as the hours passed, a pattern emerged. Despite the risks, despite the fear, despite the overwhelming odds, most speakers reached the same conclusion. Humanity could not continue to live as slaves. When the last representative finished speaking, President Kang stood up. The room fell silent. 30 years ago, when we first made contact with the galactic community, we hoped to join a community of equals. We believed that advanced species would treat us fairly and help us grow. Instead, we found ourselves trapped in a system designed to keep us weak and dependent. We have been systematically robbed, lied to, and threatened. The Council expects us to comply with their latest demand. They expect us to abandon 6 more colonies without question. They believe we are too weak and cowardly to resist. President Commander An Jae-hyun had always been different from other human soldiers. While others followed orders, he created new ways to complete missions. While others used standard tactics, he invented solutions that surprised everyone, including himself. Now, as he stood in the secret research facility beneath New Seoul Station, he watched scientists reveal technologies that would change everything. Humanity thought they knew about their own capabilities. Dr. No Yoonji, the lead weapons researcher, activated a holographic display showing 3 years of forbidden research. Her team had been working in hidden laboratories, developing technologies the Council had banned. Commander, what you are about to see has been kept secret from everyone, except a small group of scientists and President Kang himself. Dr. No explained. What kind of technologies are we talking about? Commander An asked. Adaptive artificial intelligence that learns from combat experience. Quantum disruptor weapons that can disable any known alien technology. Neural link systems that allow human pilots to think at the speed of their computers. Commander An felt his heart race. These were exactly the kinds of innovations the Council had told humans were too dangerous to develop. How advanced are these projects? We have working prototypes for all of them. We just needed authorization to begin full production. And now you have it. Yes, sir. Directive Omega gives us permission to use any technology necessary to defend humanity. Dr. No led Commander An to a testing chamber where Captain Woo Minho was waiting. Captain Woo was one of humanity's most experienced starship commanders. He had been selected to test the neural link pilot system. Captain, are you ready to try the neural interface? Dr. No asked. Captain Woo looked nervous but determined. I've been flying ships for 15 years. If this technology can make me a better pilot, then yes, I am ready. The neural interface looked like a simple headband with tiny connectors. When Captain Woo put it on, his eyes immediately changed. They became sharper, more focused. How does it feel? Commander An asked. Like I can see everything at once. Every system, every sensor, every control. It is like the ship has become part of my body. Captain Wu sat in a flight simulator configured to match a real human warship. As soon as he began the test, his performance was unlike anything Commander An had ever seen. The simulated ship moved with perfect precision, reacting to threats faster than any human pilot should be able to manage. "This is incredible," Commander An said. "How much does this improve pilot performance?" "Early tests suggest a 300% improvement in reaction time and tactical decision-making," Dr. No replied. "And this works with all human pilots?" "It works better with humans than with any other species we have tested. Human brains seem uniquely compatible with adaptive AI systems." Commander An began to understand why the Council had been so afraid of human technological development. If every human pilot could perform like Captain Wu was performing now, their small fleet would be much more dangerous than anyone expected. 3 days after President Kang announced Directive Omega, the Council's response arrived. A massive enforcement fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. 120 alien warships representing all 12 Council species. Admiral Song Taehyun watched the fleet approach from the bridge of the Incheon. His entire command consisted of 18 human ships. On paper, it looked like a hopeless fight. "Sir, the Council fleet is sending a communication," Specialist Oh Junho reported. "Put it on the main screen." Vorthak's insect-like face appeared on the display. His mechanical voice sounded even more cold and threatening than usual. "Humans of Earth, you have made a grave mistake. Directive Omega is an act of rebellion against lawful galactic authority. You will cancel this directive immediately and submit to Council judgment." Admiral Song stepped forward. "Council Leader, humanity no longer recognizes your authority over our people. Then you will learn the consequences of defying the Council. Your species will serve as an example to all other junior races." The communication ended. The Council fleet began moving toward the first human colony on their route, New Seoul Station. But Commander An was already there, waiting with a force of 12 human ships equipped with the new technologies. His pilots wore neural interfaces. His weapon systems used quantum disruptors. His ships were controlled by adaptive AI that learned from every enemy action. The Council expected an easy victory against primitive human technology. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. The first alien ships to attack were from the Vorthak species. They used standard Council tactics that had worked for thousands of years. They moved in formation, fired energy weapons in coordinated patterns, and expected the humans to retreat or surrender. Instead, the human ships scattered in directions the aliens had never seen before. Each ship moved independently, but they were all connected through the neural link network. What one pilot learned, all pilots knew instantly. Captain Kim Doyen commanded one of the human ships in the battle. Through his neural interface, he could see the entire combat situation at once. He noticed that the alien ships had a delay between their sensor readings and their weapon targeting. In the old days, this observation would have helped only Captain Kim's ship. But with the neural network, all 12 human pilots learned this weakness at the same moment. The human ships began moving in patterns that exploited the alien targeting delay. They appeared in unexpected locations, fired quantum disruptors that disabled alien weapons, and disappeared before return fire could reach them. Within 20 minutes, 6 alien ships were drifting helplessly with their systems disabled. The remaining aliens retreated to regroup. Commander An watched the battle from his command ship. "Captain Kim, what is your status?" "All human ships operational, sir. No damage to our forces. The neural network is working perfectly." "And the quantum disruptors?" "They are more effective than we hoped. The alien ships have no defense against them." The retreating aliens sent a message back to the main Council fleet. Commander An intercepted the transmission and had it translated. The message was simple but shocking. "Human military capabilities far exceed intelligence estimates. Immediate reinforcement required." Admiral Song received Commander An's battle report with amazement. 12 human ships defeated 18 alien vessels with no losses. "Yes, sir. And we captured detailed sensor data about their technology and tactics." "What did you learn?" "The Council species have not fought a real war in centuries. Their tactics are ancient and predictable. They rely on overwhelming force rather than innovation, while humans adapt. Every battle teaches us something new, and with the neural network we learn collectively. What one pilot discovers, all pilots can use immediately." This was the key advantage the Council had never anticipated. They were used to fighting species that learned slowly. if at all. Each battle was essentially the same as the last battle. Humans were different. They treated every fight as a learning experience. They modified their tactics in real time. They shared knowledge instantly across their entire force. The Council's second attack came 2 days later. This time they sent 40 ships against Commander On's 12. They had developed new formations designed to counter human mobility. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 22 alien ships were disabled or destroyed. The humans lost 1 ship, but its crew was rescued by their allies. More importantly, the human AI systems had recorded every alien tactic, weapon type, and defensive measure. This information was immediately transmitted to all human forces. Throughout the galaxy, Dr. Shin Mirai analyzed the battle data from her laboratory on Earth. What she found made her realize just how much the Council had underestimated humanity. Admiral Song, the alien weapons and defenses have not changed significantly in over 1,000 years, she reported. What does that mean? It means they have become comfortable with their superiority. They stopped innovating because they never faced real challenges. And humans? Humans have been innovating constantly for our entire history. Even with Council restrictions, we never stopped trying to improve and adapt. So we have an advantage they cannot match. More than that, sir. We have an advantage they cannot understand. They think in terms of fixed capabilities. We think in terms of growth and change. The news of human military success spread quickly through galactic space. Other junior species began to hear rumors that humans were not only surviving Council attacks, but winning battles against impossible odds. On the planet Kepler-7, a species called the Valdris had been forced to evacuate 3 of their colonies, using the same fake threat tactics the Council had used on humans. When they heard about human resistance, their leader sent a secret message to Earth. Humans of Earth, we have suffered the same deceptions you have experienced. If you can show us how to fight back, the Valdris will stand with you. Similar messages arrived from 6 other junior species. They had all been robbed by the Council using invented threats and forced evacuations. They were all ready to fight back if someone could show them it was possible. President Kang realized that humanity's war with the Council had become something much larger. It was becoming. Admiral Lim Yongsu had been called out of retirement to command humanity's greatest battle. At 49 years old, she had more combat experience than any other human officer. She had also been one of the secret supporters of forbidden research projects. Now she stood on the bridge of the new flagship Seoul, watching 300 Council ships approach human space. Her own fleet consisted of 24 ships, including 6 vessels built using completely new human technology. Admiral, we are receiving communications from multiple junior species, reported Communications Officer Park Jae-hyun. They want to know if we need assistance. Admiral Lim smiled. In the past week, 8 different species had declared independence from the Council. They were inspired by human success, but they were also ready to fight for their own freedom. Tell them to stand by. If we win this battle, they will have their chance to join us. If we lose, they should save themselves. The Council fleet was led by Vorthak himself, commanding from a massive warship that was over 3 kilometers long. It represented the accumulated military power of 12 ancient civilizations. Dr. Shin Mirai had worked non-stop to analyze every piece of intelligence about Council military capabilities. Her final report had been both encouraging and terrifying. Admiral, the good news is that Council military technology really has not advanced in centuries. The bad news is that it does not need to advance. They have overwhelming firepower. What about their tactics? Their tactics are based on the assumption that they will always have superior numbers and technology. They have never needed to develop complex strategies, so they will try to crush us with brute force. That is what they have always done before. But we are not like their previous enemies. Admiral Lim activated the neural command network that connected her to every human ship. Through this network, she could coordinate the actions of 24 ships as if they were one unified organism. The system was based on technology that the Council had banned, but it worked better with humans than anyone had dreamed. Human brains seemed designed for this kind of collective thinking. Commander Lee Hyun commanded one of the attack squadrons. Through the neural link, he could feel the thoughts and intentions of every other human commander. It was like having a conversation without words. Squadron leaders, this is Admiral Lim. We are going to do something the Council will not expect. Instead of trying to match their formation, we are going to break their fleet into smaller pieces. The human ships moved with perfect coordination. They did not try to fight the entire Council fleet at once. Instead, they used superior speed and maneuverability to isolate small groups of enemy ships. Captain Wu Minho led the first attack run. His ship, equipped with quantum disruptor weapons, targeted the communication arrays of 12 Council vessels. Within minutes, those ships could no longer coordinate with the rest of their fleet. The isolated ships found themselves surrounded by human vessels that moved like a pack of wolves. The humans would disable an alien ship's weapons, then move on to the next target. They did not waste time destroying ships that were already helpless. Vorthak watched his fleet being torn apart by tactics he had never seen before. The humans seemed to be everywhere at once. His ships could not maintain formation because the humans refused to fight in predictable patterns. All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship, Vorthak ordered. But when 40 Council ships turned to attack Admiral Lim's vessel, they found it was no longer where their sensors indicated. The human neural network allowed ships to share sensor data instantly, creating illusions and false readings that confused alien targeting systems. Dr. No Yunji had developed a new weapon specifically for this battle. The neural disruption field could temporarily disable the thought processes of most alien species. It did not work on humans because human brains functioned differently than alien minds. When the weapon was activated, 60 Council ships suddenly stopped responding to orders. Their crews were alive but could not think clearly enough to operate their vessels. "This is impossible," Vorthak said as he watched his fleet falling apart. "Junior species cannot possess such advanced technology. But humans did possess it because they had never stopped trying to improve themselves." Even under Council restrictions, human scientists had continued to innovate and experiment. The battle that was supposed to last days ended in 12 hours. When it was over, the Council fleet was completely defeated. Over 200 alien ships were disabled or captured. The remainder retreated in panic. Most importantly, not a single human ship was destroyed. Some were damaged. But the neural network had allowed them to coordinate their defenses so well that no vessel was overwhelmed. Ambassador Park. Sujin broadcast a message to every species in the galaxy while the battle was still ending. "Citizens of the galaxy, today you have witnessed the defeat of the Galactic Council's military force by a single junior species. This proves that the Council is not invincible. It proves that freedom is possible. For too long, the Council has maintained power through deception and fear. They have stolen from junior species while claiming to protect them. They have suppressed technological development while pretending to guide it. Today, that system of oppression ends." The response was immediate. Within hours, 15 junior species declared independence from Council authority. They had been waiting for someone to prove that resistance was possible. The Valdris were the first to send ships to join the human fleet. Their leader, a being called Korath, spoke to Admiral Lim through a translation device. "Humans of Earth, we have watched your battle with amazement. Will you teach us how to fight for our freedom?" "We will teach anyone who wants to learn," Admiral Lim replied. "But first we need to finish what we started." The human fleet, now supported by ships from 8 different species, moved toward the Council's home systems. They were not seeking conquest or revenge. They were seeking to end the Council's ability to oppress anyone. President Kang Seoho traveled with the fleet aboard the flagship Seoul. As they entered the system containing the Council's capital world, he prepared to address the galaxy. The Council's capital was a massive space station orbiting an ancient star. It had been the center of galactic government for over 10,000 years. Never in its history had it been threatened by military force. Vorthak and the remaining Council leaders waited in their great chamber as human ships surrounded their station. They had no weapons capable of fighting back. Their fleets were destroyed or scattered. President Kang's image appeared on screens throughout the station and across the galaxy. "Members of the Galactic Council, for 10,000 years you have ruled through fear and deception. You have presented yourselves as wise guardians of galactic peace, but you have actually been parasites feeding on younger civilizations. Today, your reign ends, not through conquest but through truth." Dr. Shin Mirai had spent weeks preparing a complete record of Council crimes. Evidence of systematic resource theft, fake threats, suppressed technologies, and oppressive laws designed to keep junior species weak. All of this evidence was broadcast simultaneously to every inhabited world in the galaxy. For the first time, Junior species could see the full scope of how they had been manipulated and exploited. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. On hundreds of worlds, junior species rose up against Council authority. They had been kept ignorant of their own strength, but now they knew the truth. We do not seek to replace the Council with human rule, President Kang continued. We seek to create a new system based on cooperation rather than domination. Every species, regardless of age or power, should have the right to develop freely and peacefully. No species should be forced to surrender its resources or restrict its growth for the benefit of others. The formation of the Galactic Alliance took place in the same chamber where the Council had ruled for millennia. But instead of 12 ancient species dictating to hundreds of junior races, the new system gave every species an equal voice. Forthak and the other former Council leaders were not executed or imprisoned. Instead, they were required to return the stolen resources they had taken from junior species over the centuries. The quantum crystals that had been stolen from human colonies were returned, along with compensation for the families who had lost their homes. But more importantly, the technology and knowledge that the Council had restricted was shared freely with all species. Commander An Jae-hyun became the first director of the Alliance Military Academy, where officers from dozens of species learned human tactical innovations. The neural link technology was adapted to work with many different types of alien minds. Dr. No Yoonji established research centers throughout the galaxy where species could work together to develop new technologies. For the first time in galactic history, scientific knowledge was shared freely rather than hoarded by the powerful. Captain Kim Doyen led exploration missions to sectors of the galaxy that the Council had declared off-limits. These expeditions discovered 17 new species that had been hiding from Council expansion for centuries. Ambassador Park Soo-jin became the first president of the Galactic Alliance Council. Unlike the old Council, this body had no permanent members and no species with special privileges. Every decision required approval from a majority of member species.